My wife brought an attractive man into our home and said, "He's living here now." I just nodded and handed him a black envelope. I was sitting at my grandfather's antique desk when my wife walked into our apartment with a man I'd never met. "Ivan, meet Alexei," Marina said, her voice bright with false cheer. She gestured around our living room like a real estate agent, showing a property. "He's living here now." I didn't yell, didn't stand up, didn't even raise my voice. I just nodded, because I'd been expecting this for exactly 4 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days. Alexei looked around my home, the home I'd bought with my inheritance, the home where I'd refinished the hardwood floors by hand, the home where Marina and I had spent 12 years building what I thought was a life together with poorly concealed arrogance. He was younger than me by maybe 8 years, built like he lived at the gym, wearing cologne so strong it made my eyes water from across the room. Marina didn't even take off her heels. She walked across that hardwood floor I'd sanded and stained myself, the same floor she'd walked across for 12 years without once noticing the work I'd put into it. "Don't make a scene, Ivan," she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Be mature about this. We're all adults here." I looked at her, really looked at her. The designer suit she'd bought after her promotion, the new haircut that cost more than our monthly grocery bill used to, the confidence that came from believing she'd outgrown me. "I am being mature," I said quietly. I opened the locked drawer in my grandfather's desk, the one Marina had never asked about in 12 years, the one she'd walked past 1,000 times without curiosity. Inside were 2 thick, black envelopes, 4 months of careful, methodical, quiet investigation, all condensed into documentation she never saw coming. I took one envelope and stood up, walked across the room, held it out to Alexei. "Welcome," I said calmly. "This is for you." His cocky grin wavered. He looked at Marina, then back at me, like he was trying to figure out if this was some kind of trap. "What is this?" he asked. "Open it." Marina's eyes narrowed. I could see her recalculating. She'd expected me to collapse, to beg, to make it easy for her to feel like the victim of a loveless marriage. My composure wasn't part of her plan. "Ivan, don't be pathetic," she said. "I'm not being pathetic, Marina. I'm being thorough." Alexei tore open the envelope. Inside wasn't a letter. It was a stack of printed documents, photographs, and bank statements, all neatly organized with labeled tabs. His face went pale. He started flipping through them, faster and faster, his jaw clenching with each page. Then he threw them on the floor like they'd burned his hands. A scattered mess of evidence spread across my hardwood floor. Bank statements showing 48,000 euros in gambling debts. Screenshots from 3 different dating apps, with his face on all of them, each profile claiming to be single. Photos of him leaving hotels with different women over the past 6 months. Court documents from his ex-wife's restraining order, filed 18 months ago for financial abuse and harassment. "Where did you get this?" Alexei demanded, his voice shaking. Marina grabbed one of the papers. Her hands were trembling. "What is this?" I sat back down at my desk, perfectly calm. "Before you met him at whatever expensive bar you've been frequenting, I worked 15 years in corporate security, background checks, digital forensics, threat assessment. I know how to find information." I looked directly at Alexei. "And 4 months ago, when I suspected my wife was having an affair, I hired a very good investigator. Cost me 3,000 euros, worth every single cent." Let me back up. 4 months ago, Marina got promoted to senior regional director at the pharmaceutical company where she'd worked for 8 years. Good money, corner office, expense account. The kind of position she'd been chasing since before we got married. I was happy for her, genuinely happy. I'd supported her through night classes, through brutal hours, through the stress and politics and everything that came with climbing that corporate ladder. But something changed after the promotion. At first, I told myself it was just adjustment, new responsibilities, new pressure. She started working later, coming home after I'd already eaten dinner, taking calls in the bedroom with the door closed. "It's just the transition," she'd say when I asked. "Give me a few weeks to settle in." The few weeks became a month, then 2 months. She stopped asking about my day, stopped laughing at my jokes, started looking at me like I was furniture she'd inherited and couldn't quite figure out what to do with. "I'm a network security analyst, not glamorous. I work from home most days, managing firewalls and security protocols for mid-sized companies. Solid income, flexible schedule, not exciting, but steady." Marina used to say she loved that about me. "You're my rock," she'd tell me, "my constant in all the chaos." After the promotion, that changed. "Don't you want more?" she asked one night, 3 months ago. We were in bed, lying next to each other like strangers. "Don't you want to be something bigger?" "I like what I do," I said. "That's the problem. You're content." She said it like contentment was a character flaw. That was the first real warning sign. Not the working late, not the closed doors, but the contempt in her voice when she talked about my life, our life, like it was something beneath her now. I started paying attention after that. Small things first. She changed her phone passcode, started carrying it everywhere, even to the bathroom. Bought new clothes, expensive ones, but never wore them around me. Only when she was going to the office. Then came the credit card statements, charges from restaurants I'd never been to, hotels in cities where she claimed claimed to have day meetings, boutique purchases I never saw her bring home. When I asked about the hotel charges, she had an answer ready. Client dinners run late. The company puts us up rather than have us drive home. It's standard procedure. It might have been true. It also might not have been. I couldn't ask her colleagues without seeming paranoid. Couldn't check her work calendar without access I didn't have. But I could hire someone who did this professionally. Viktor Petrov had been recommended by a colleague at work who'd gone through a messy divorce. A best investigator in the city, my colleague had said. Former police detective. 18 years on the force before he went private. Doesn't miss anything. I met Viktor in a coffee shop 3 months ago. He was mid-50s, gray hair, tired eyes, wearing a jacket that had seen better days. He looked like every cop I'd ever seen in Eastern European crime dramas. Tell me what you've noticed, he said, pulling out a notepad. I went through everything. The changed behavior, the phone secrecy, the unexplained charges, the contempt. Viktor nodded throughout, not writing anything down, just listening. Expense account? He asked when I finished. Yes, company issued. She uses it for client entertainment. Hotels? She says they're for late meetings, so she doesn't have to drive home. How often? Twice a week, sometimes 3 times. He nodded again. Mr. Sokolov, I'm going to be direct with you. What you're describing is a classic pattern. I've seen it 100 times. Your wife is almost certainly having an affair. Even though I'd known it, suspected it, expected it, hearing someone say it out loud made my stomach drop. Can you prove it? I asked. I can try, but I need you to understand something first. Once I start investigating, you can't unknow what I find. If she's having an affair, I'll document it. If she's doing something else, financial misconduct, theft, fraud, I'll document that too. Whatever I find, you'll have to live with. I understand. Do you? Because some clients come to me hoping I'll prove their suspicions wrong. That's not what I do. I find the truth, and the truth is usually worse than people expect. I looked at this tired detective in his worn jacket and made my decision. Find everything, I said. The first report came 10 days later. Viktor met me at the same coffee shop and slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were photographs. Marina entering a hotel with a man I didn't recognize. The same man from different angles, different days. Marina and the man having dinner at expensive restaurants. Marina and the man in what looked like deep conversation, her hand on his arm, laughing at something, he said. His name is Alexei Volkov, Viktor said. 34 years old, works as a personal trainer at an upscale gym downtown, divorced 18 months ago, has a pattern. What kind of pattern? He targets recently promoted women, professional types with money, builds relationships, gains trust, then moves in for financial gain. I found 3 other women over the past 4 years. Same approach every time. My chest felt tight. Is he with Marina for money? That's my assessment, yes. But there's more. Viktor pulled out more documents. Bank statements, credit reports, court filings. Volkov has significant gambling debts. 48,000 euros to various creditors. He's being sued by 2 separate casinos. His ex-wife filed a restraining order against him for financial abuse. He ran up her credit cards, took out loans in her name, cleaned out their joint accounts before she filed for divorce. I stared at the documents. Marina doesn't know this. Almost certainly not. Men like Volkov are expert manipulators. They present themselves as successful, stable, perfect partners. By the time the target realizes who they really are, they're already financially entangled. What about Marina? Has she given him money? Not yet, but I did find something concerning. He pulled out more bank statements. These ones had my wife's name on them. She opened a private account 4 months ago, right after her promotion. She's been transferring money from your joint account, small amounts, 500 here, 1,000 there, into this private account. So far, she's moved 43,000 euros. The coffee shop suddenly felt too hot. 43,000? She's been careful about it. Small transfers that might not trigger attention, but I pulled your joint account history. The money's gone. I sat there processing this. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was stealing from our joint finances to build a secret account. Why? I asked. Either she's planning to leave you and wants a cushion, or Volkov has asked her for money and she's preparing to give it to him. Maybe both. What do I do? Viktor closed the folder. That's not my job to say, but I can keep investigating. Document everything. Build a case if you need it, for divorce proceedings or financial recovery. Do it, I said. Find everything. Over the next 3 months, Viktor built a file so comprehensive it could have been used as evidence in a criminal trial. He documented every meeting between Marina and Alexei, every hotel visit, every dinner, every text message. Marina thought she'd deleted, but that lived on in cloud backups she didn't know existed. He also investigated Alexei thoroughly, the gambling debts, the pattern with other women, the restraining order, screenshots from 3 different dating apps where Alexei maintained active profiles, each one claiming to be a successful entrepreneur looking for a meaningful connection. Viktor even found the other women Alexei had targeted. One agreed to talk. He told me he was an investment consultant, she said in a recorded phone interview Viktor conducted. Said he could help me grow my money. By the time I realized he was using my credit to pay his gambling debts, he'd racked up 2,000 euros in my name. I'm still paying it off. Did you file charges? Victor asked. I tried, but he claimed it was all consensual, that I'd given him permission. It became a he said, she said situation, and the police didn't pursue it. Do you think he's doing it again? I know he is. Men like Alexei don't change. They just find new targets. Victor also helped me hire a lawyer, Rebecca Chen, specialized in family law and financial fraud cases. 38 years old, sharp-eyed, with a reputation for aggressive representation. She'd been practicing for 12 years and had a 92% success rate in divorce proceedings. This is thorough work, she said, reviewing Victor's file in her office. Your investigator did an excellent job. Can we use it? All of it. The affair is grounds for divorce under fault-based proceedings. The financial transfers from the joint account constitute theft, or at minimum, financial misconduct that affects asset division. And if your wife gives any of that money to Mr. Volkov, we can pursue recovery. What about the apartment? You said it's in your name only? Purchased with inherited money before the marriage? Yes. My grandfather left me money when he passed. I used it to buy the apartment outright 12 years ago, 2 months before Marina and I got married. Rebecca made notes. Then, it's separate property, not marital property. She has no claim to it. What if she argues she contributed to it? She lived there. Did she pay rent? No. Did she contribute to renovations or improvements? No. I did all the work myself. Then she has no claim. The apartment is yours. In divorce proceedings, you can request she vacate within a reasonable time frame. I sat in Rebecca's office, surrounded by law books and case files, and felt something shift inside me. Marina had betrayed me, stolen from me, planned to leave me for a con artist who would drain her dry and move on to the next target. But I wasn't helpless. I was documented, prepared, armed with truth. What's the next step? I asked Rebecca. We wait for the right moment. Let your investigator keep building the file, and when you're ready, when she makes her move, you respond with overwhelming evidence. What if she brings him to the apartment? Rebecca looked at me carefully. If she brings another man into your home, into property you own, that's bold, that's arrogant, and that's when you show her exactly who she's dealing with. The moment came 3 weeks later. Marina had been distant for days, colder than usual. She'd stopped making excuses for where she was going, just saying out when she left for hours at a time. Then, on a Saturday afternoon while I was working at my desk, I got a text from Victor. She's bringing him to the apartment. They're in a taxi now. ETA, 12 minutes. My heart started pounding. This was it. The moment Rebecca had mentioned. Marina was bringing Alexei to my home. I texted back, confirmed. I'm ready. I went to my grandfather's desk, the one piece of furniture Marina had never paid attention to, never asked about, never appreciated, and unlocked the bottom drawer. Inside were 2 black envelopes. The first was labeled Alexei Volkov in printed letters. Inside was everything Victor had found: the gambling debts, the dating profiles, the restraining order, the pattern with other women, the interviews, the photographs. The second was labeled Marina Sokolov. Inside was everything else: the affair timeline, the deleted messages recovered from cloud backups, the secret bank account, the 43,000 euros in transferred funds, the hotel charges on her company card that violated corporate policy. I'd had both envelopes prepared for 2 weeks, waiting. Rebecca had reviewed both. These are devastating, she'd said. Use them wisely. I heard the key in the lock. The door opened. Marina walked in first, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Then came Alexei, looking around my home like he was appraising it. Ivan, meet Alexei, Marina said, her voice bright and false. He's living here now. I didn't react the way she expected. Didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't give her the dramatic confrontation she could twist into evidence that I was unreasonable. I just nodded. Don't make a scene, Marina said, already positioning herself as the reasonable one. Be mature about this. We're all adults here. I opened the drawer and took out the first envelope. I am being mature, I said, walking across the room. I held the envelope out to Alexei. Welcome. This is for you. His cocky expression faltered. What is this? Open it. Marina's eyes narrowed. Her calculation was visible. She'd expected collapse, not composure. Alexei tore open the envelope. I watched his face change as he flipped through the pages. Confusion, then recognition, then panic. He threw the papers on the floor. Bank statements showing 48,000 euros in gambling debts scattered across the hardwood, screenshots from dating apps, photos from hotels, the restraining order from his ex-wife. Where did you get this? Alexei demanded, his voice shaking now. Marina grabbed one of the papers, her hands trembling. What is this? Before you met him at whatever expensive bar you've been frequenting, I said calmly. I worked 15 years in corporate security, background checks, digital forensics. I know how to find information. I looked at Alexei. And 4 months ago, I hired a very good investigator, Viktor Petrov, former police detective, 18 years on the force, cost me 3,000 euros, worth every single cent. Alexei backed toward the door. This is invasion of privacy. So is sleeping with someone's wife, I said. But here we are. Marina was reading through the documents now, her face reddening. Alexei, what is this about gambling debts? It's nothing, baby. It's 48,000 euros isn't nothing, I interrupted. The men men he owes money to aren't patient. Check page 7. Victor documented the loan sharks who've been calling him for 6 months. She flipped through, her hands shaking harder now. There's also a recorded interview with the woman he did this to before you, I continued. Page 12. She's still paying off 32,000 euros in debt he racked up on her credit. There's a pattern, Marina. You're not special. You're just next. Alexei's face had gone from cocky to pale. You don't know what you're talking about. I have 3 other women who say I do. Marina looked at him, and I saw something crack in her expression. You said you were an entrepreneur. I am. This is fabricated. It's all documented, I said. Court records are public. Bank statements are real. The restraining order is filed with the county. Victor verified everything. You can call him if you want. He's expecting to hear from law enforcement. That last part was a bluff, but Alexei didn't know that. I went back to the desk and picked up the second envelope. That one was for him, I said, holding it up, so he'd understand what he walked into. I looked at Marina. This one's for you. Her face went white. What? You thought you were so careful, I said. Deleting messages, using your work phone for the affair, meeting at hotels outside the city, but you forgot about cloud backups. I opened the envelope slightly, showing the edge of printed screenshots. Every text message, every email, every photo, all recovered from your iCloud account that automatically syncs. Did you know it keeps everything for 90 days, even after you delete it from your phone? Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. There's also complete documentation of the money you transferred from our joint account to your private account, I continued. The one you opened 4 months ago at Nacional Bank. 43,000 euros, moved in small increments, so I wouldn't notice. Except I did notice, and I documented every single transfer. Alexei was staring at her now like she'd just transformed into someone else. You said you had money. I do have money, Marina hissed. Stolen money, I corrected, from our joint account, which, according to Rebecca Chen, she's my divorce attorney, family law specialist, 12 years in practice, constitutes financial misconduct that affects asset division in divorce proceedings. Marina's legs seemed to buckle. She sat down hard on the couch. Ivan, you wouldn't. I already filed. This morning, Rebecca submitted the petition at 9:47 a.m. You should be getting served on Monday. You can't do this. I can. I did. And there's one more thing. I pulled out another document from the envelope. These are the hotel charges on your company expense card. The ones you claimed were for client dinners and late meetings. Except I cross-referenced them with your calendar. On 17 separate occasions, you charged hotels to the company card on days when you had no client meetings scheduled. That's corporate fraud, Marina. Her face went from white to gray. You're bluffing. I sent the documentation to your company's internal audit department yesterday. They opened an investigation this morning. You might want to check your work email. Alexei was already at the door. I'm not part of this. I'm out. Alexei, wait, Marina started, but he was already gone, the door slamming behind him. The silence that followed was deafening. Marina sat on the couch, tears streaming down her face, mascara running. Ivan, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said. You got a promotion, decided you'd outgrown me, started an affair with a con artist who was planning to drain your finances, stole 43,000 euros from our joint account, committed corporate fraud with your expense card, and brought your affair partner into my home, expecting me to just accept it. I was unhappy. Then you should have told me, or gone to counseling, or filed for divorce, honestly. Instead, you lied, cheated, stole, and tried to humiliate me in my own home. I picked up my jacket from the back of my chair. Where are you going? She asked. Somewhere you're not. You can stay here tonight, but tomorrow you need to find somewhere else. This apartment is in my name, my inheritance, my property. Rebecca already filed the motion for exclusive use pending divorce proceedings. This is my apartment too. Actually, no, it's not. Check the deed. It's been in my name only since I purchased it 12 years ago. You've been living here as my guest, and now I'm asking you to leave. Marina stood up, her whole body shaking. You can't do this. You can't just throw me out. I have 30 days to evict you legally. Rebecca says judges are typically sympathetic to spouses who find their partners bringing affair partners into their homes, but out of respect for the 12 years we had together, I'm giving you until tomorrow to pack your essentials and go. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore, Marina. Maybe your sister, maybe a hotel, maybe Alexei's place, though I doubt he'll take you now that he knows you don't actually have accessible money. I walked to the door. You know what the funny thing is? I said, turning back to look at her one last time. You thought I was content, boring, beneath you, someone who'd just accept whatever you decided. I opened the door, but I was never content. I was just patient and careful and smart enough to document everything. Ivan, please. Rebecca will be in touch about the divorce proceedings. Victor's final report will be included in Discovery, and you should probably get a lawyer, a good one. You're going to need it. I closed the door behind me and walked down the hallway, my footsteps echoing on the tile floor. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Filing confirmed. Court date in 6 weeks. Another text from Victor. Final invoice sent. Pleasure working with you. I got in my car and drove to the hotel where I'd I'd been staying for the past 3 days, the place I'd moved my essential belongings to while Marina thought I was at work. The room was small but clean, anonymous, mine. I sat on the bed and opened my laptop, checked my email. There was a message from Nacional Bank's Fraud Investigation Department, acknowledging my report about the unauthorized transfers from the joint account. Another email from Victor with his final report, 214 pages of documentation, photos, interviews, and evidence. A message from Rebecca with a proposed timeline for divorce proceedings and asset division. I read through everything methodically, the way I'd been trained to do in corporate security, looking for gaps, checking for weaknesses, making sure every angle was covered. Everything was solid. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. Marina tried to fight it at first, claimed I'd violated her privacy, argued the cloud backup evidence was inadmissible, insisted she deserved half the apartment's value. Rebecca demolished every argument. The cloud backups were from Marina's own account, which she'd never protected with adequate security. Therefore, any expectation of privacy was waived. The financial transfers were documented through official bank records. The apartment was separate property, purchased before marriage with inherited funds. Marina's corporate fraud investigation was still ongoing. Her company had placed her on administrative leave pending the outcome. She'd hired her own lawyer, but the evidence was overwhelming. 17 hotel charges on days with no client meetings, all flagged, all documented. Alexei had disappeared completely. According to Victor's final update, he'd moved to another city and was already pursuing a relationship with a newly promoted executive at a tech company. Pattern repeats, Victor had said when I'd asked. Men like that don't change. Marina's sister took her in initially, but according to sources, my brother-in-law stayed loosely in touch. The arrangement only lasted 6 weeks before tensions got too high. Marina ended up in a small studio apartment across the city, working a lower-level position at a different company after she was quietly let go from her previous job. The 43,000 euros she'd transferred was split in the divorce settlement. Rebecca argued it was marital funds that Marina had misappropriated, and the judge agreed. Marina had to pay back half 21,500 euros, which was applied to the joint account division. The final decree came through on a Thursday afternoon. I was working at my desk, the same desk where I'd stored those black envelopes when the email notification appeared. Divorce finalized. No alimony. Clean separation of assets. The apartment remained mine. I sat there for a long moment, looking around the space I'd bought, renovated, and protected. The space Marina had walked through for 12 years without appreciating. The space she'd tried to share with someone else. My phone rang. Rebecca, congratulations, she said. You're officially divorced. Thank you for everything. You made it easy. The documentation was airtight. I've never had a case with this much solid evidence. Victor's work, yes, but also your patience. A lot of people would have confronted their spouse immediately, made a scene, destroyed evidence in the emotional reaction. You waited. You built a case. You protected yourself. I learned a long time ago that emotion without evidence is just noise. Well, it served you well. What's next? I don't know. Keep working. Maybe travel. Figure out who I am without being married. That's a good plan. And if you ever need legal help again, hopefully you won't. You know where to find me. We said goodbye and I hung up. The apartment was quiet. Mine again. Fully mine. I thought about Marina bringing Alexei here, expecting me to collapse, to beg, to give her the dramatic confrontation that would justify her narrative of an unhappy marriage to a boring, contentious man. She'd been wrong about all of it. I wasn't boring. I was careful. I wasn't contentious. I was strategic. And I wasn't broken. I was free. 6 months after the divorce, I was refinishing the deck at my grandfather's old summer cabin when my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Ivan Sokolov? A woman's voice asked. Yes. Who's this? My name is Elena Markova. I got your number from Viktor Petrov. I hope that's okay. What can I do for you? This is awkward, but I think I'm dating the same man your wife had an affair with, Alexei Volkov, and I think he's lying to me. I sat down on the cabin steps, phone pressed to my ear. What makes you think he's lying? He says he's an investment consultant, that he can help me grow my money from a recent inheritance, but something feels off. And when I searched his name, I found an old court filing that mentioned his ex-wife, which led me to a private investigator report, which led me to your case. What do you want to know? Everything. Please. I need to know if I'm being paranoid or if my instincts are right. I thought about it. About Marina. About the other women Victor had found. About the pattern Alexei followed over and over, finding new targets who didn't know his history. How much has he asked you for? I said. Nothing yet, but he's talking about investment opportunities, about how we could build something together. Don't give him anything. Not a single euro. That bad? Worse, but I can help you. Victor's contact information is public. Tell him I referred you. He'll do a background check at a reduced rate for anyone connected to the Volkov case. Thank you. Really. I don't know if I'm overreacting, but you're not. Trust your instincts and document everything. After we hung up, I sat on those cabin steps for a long time, looking out at the woods my grandfather used to walk through every morning. He'd been a quiet quiet man too, careful, patient, the kind of person people underestimated until they realized he'd already thought 3 steps ahead. Don't waste emotion on people who don't deserve it, he used to tell me. Save your energy for protecting what matters. I'd protected what mattered: the apartment, the truth, my future. Marina had thought she'd won by finding Alexei, by building her escape plan, by preparing to leave me for someone better. But she'd forgotten the fundamental rule of any con: the person who looks weakest might just be the one watching everything. I finished refinishing the deck as the sun set behind the trees. The cabin was mine now too, inherited after my grandfather passed. Another piece of stability, another foundation. My phone buzzed. A text from Victor. Elena Markova just called. Thanks for the referral. Looks like Volkov's at it again. I typed back, happy to help. Let me know if you need anything. Will do. And Ivan, you did good. A lot of people would have fallen apart. You didn't. I put my phone away and went inside the cabin, made dinner, sat on the porch, and watched the stars come out. Marina was somewhere in the city, probably still trying to figure out where everything went wrong, still telling herself she'd been the victim of an unreasonable husband, still believing her own revised version of history. Alexei was somewhere else, targeting someone new, running the same playbook that had worked for years, and I was here, free, whole, undamaged by people who'd tried to make me smaller. I'd handed Alexei that black envelope and watched his mask slip. I'd shown Marina her own theft and watched her world collapse. I'd done it all, quietly, carefully, methodically. No drama, no scenes, no wasted emotion, just documentation, patience, and the simple act of telling the truth. That was the real revenge. Not hurting them back, not even confronting them dramatically, just letting their own actions speak louder than any words I could have said. Marina had underestimated me because I was quiet. She'd learned otherwise. And somewhere out there, maybe Elena Markova would learn from my example. Maybe the next woman, and the next one after that. Maybe eventually, men like Alexei would run out of people to fool. But that wasn't my fight anymore. I'd won mine, and that was enough. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.